You don't know what I'm going to tell you. I don't know what this show is. You are my guinea pigs, so to speak. That's one way to look at it. The other way is no one else has ever seen this show. Okay, here's what it is. How many of you saw Pig Boy? Raise your hand if you saw my one-man show. Wow. Okay, a lot of pressure. So Pig Boy was a show that I'd completely written and worked with the director and everything. I have all these new stories and I wanted a chance to tell them, and I needed a safe place. So I packed the place with all my McMurray friends and my relatives and friends. No. Honestly, I thought, why not try it out in front of the people who, part of you are in this story. Where's my mom? I'm just going to say now, Mom, I love you. But my mom says so many things that I don't really write anything. I just transcribe. Okay? And Rob, you take a few hits in the show too. Okay. And I've learned something from Pig Boy that I didn't know. Oh, you know what I don't have is a clock. So Laura, kind of keep track of time a little bit and tell me when I've gone 2.5 hours. Well, I've got a watch on my arm. Yeah, well, it's this new machinery. I don't know if you're saying one of these, it's a watch. Okay, here's what I learned from Pig Boy. Is I changed people's names so nobody would get their feelings hurt or, know it was about them. And the first time I did the show in Carrollton at Carrollton High School, so many people came up to me and said, "Hey, is that story about me?" And I was like, "How'd you know?" Like Sherry Fraley, I had this whole story about my crush I had on her. And I'm like, "Sherry Fraley, how'd you know it was you?" And she goes, "You changed my name to Shirley Farley." That's what Laura said. "Are you an idiot?" I said, "Yeah, you married me, baby." And actually, and I will say this right now, Laura and I had our 28th marriage anniversary yesterday. Cheering because Laura could put up with me that long. And in California, if you've been married 30 years, you actually get a certificate from the state and you can commit a crime. So I'm going to really try and change names in this show so you don't know who I'm talking about, except Rob and Vicky and Mom and Dad. You'll just... they're going to know who you are. If I say, "Oh, my brother Terry," I've got one brother, and he's sitting right there. So, okay. So I will be referring to my notes on occasion. I didn't know when I was a kid what an idyllic childhood I had. My mom and dad love each other, and they treat each other kindly. They stayed together. I have a mom and dad who have lived in their house for their whole life, even after Dad passed away. Mom's still in the house. When I come home, I know I can go up to my bedroom and sleep in my bunk beds with the racing car wallpaper and the Pepsi lamp that has it, and it's all still there, and that's a good thing. And I didn't realize how lucky I was. And I remember Dad was a farmer, big, strong farmer. He's not the lovey-dovey kind of, touchy-feely kind of guy. Although they did have 3 kids, so there was some lovey-dovey. But we're not going to get into that. But I remember, Dad would come in and he would kiss Mom in the kitchen, and we'd all go, "Ooh, But what a great thing that your parents, even after having kids and trying to raise them together, still want to kiss each other. Because raising kids is tough work, and the toughest job I've ever had. I'll get into that later. My mom, when Dad and Mom started out, they didn't have a lot of money. So they skimped whenever they could, and Mom was a coupon shopper. Everything, she never bought anything for what it really cost. And she would play this game where after going shopping, at the end of the day, we'd be all in watching TV, and she'd come in with an item and go, guess what I paid for this? So like this package of Oreos, which by the way, okay, I'm already interrupting my own story. My mom never bought Oreos. She bought Hydrox.
Yes.
Oreos are delicious, fat-filled cookie wafers that are delicious and wonderful to eat. Hydrox are 2 pieces of cardboard with spackle. And she would call them Oreos like we didn't know. I've got really dumb kids. Watch this. So she would say, guess how much I paid for this package of Oreos? Normally they're 49 cents. Well, we kids, we understood the game. We bid high so Mom would win, because she was the coupon shopper and the one that got the food. We wanted her to win. And so we'd say, oh, let's say 49 cents normally, 45, 42, 46. She'd turn to Dad, who was reading the paper, and she'd say, well, Roy, and he'd go, I don't know, dime. Roy, nobody gets a package of Oreos for a dime. She never learned. She'd come back with a can of High C, the big cans of High C that you'd open with the metal thing. You know? Yep. Normally, 3 for $1, 33 cents a piece. Guess what I paid for 3 of them? And we'd all bid, you know, come on, Dad, please play the game. It's like, I don't know, 95 cents, 78 cents, 85 cents. Dad, how much? I don't know. Quarter. Well, nobody gets High C. But Mom finally won when she came in with a loaf of bread. She said, guess how much I paid for the bread? Normally, I can get 4 loaves for $1. Guess, yeah, it was really good bread. Guess how much I paid for this loaf of bread? We all make our bids. It's, you know, oh, 20 cents, 24 cents, 23 cents. Come on, Dad, come on, Dad. He goes, I don't know, nickel. She says, no, Roy. It was double coupon day and I had a rebate. They paid me 30 cents to take this. Mom also had a gift. She never threw out any food. No matter how old it got, no matter how moldy, no matter how stinky. It was like a valley of dry bones at our house. She could bring them back to life. I heard things like, oh, that bologna's not bad, we just need to fry it. Right. Or, oh yeah, those dinner rolls are pretty stale, but if you put them in the microwave for 10 seconds, nice and soft, but you gotta eat them quick before they get hard. We burnt our mouths on dinner rolls for years. I didn't know what a good dinner roll tasted like. Oh, and then the old standby, which we heard all the time, was, oh, for crying out loud, eat it. It won't kill you. And she's right, it didn't actually kill us. I was away from home for a few years, and I went back to visit Mom and Dad. It was probably like 2005. And Mom served a banquet Salisbury steak dinner. Remember that in the big aluminum foil pan? And I remember thinking, gosh, I didn't even know they still had these at the grocery store. And so she left the box on the counter. You don't even know I did this, Mom. She left the box on the counter, and after dinner, I went and looked for the expiration date. It had no expiration date. We had eaten Salisbury steak dinner that predated expiration. I think carbon dating would have put that meal at probably circa 1990. 15-year-old Salisbury steak. And you know what? It tasted good in a nostalgic way. And guess what? It didn't kill me. We were all home for Christmas a few years ago, and Mom had been to Walmart, and she was unpacking the groceries, and I could tell she was missing something. She couldn't find it. And I said, Mom, what are you missing? She goes, oh, doggone it. I bought some of that sliced ham, and I can't find it now. Doggone it, it was the good stuff, too. Like Walmart's got the good stuff. And she said, well, I bet it fell out of the bag, and it's in the shopping cart in the parking lot. I hope whoever found that needed some sliced ham and was able to use it. Okay, that's Christmas time, right? We're on the phone in March. 4 months later. she says, oh, hey, by the way, you remember the ham I couldn't find at Christmas time? Well, I found it, and guess where it was? You'll never guess, so I'll tell you. It had fallen out of the bag and was underneath the front seat of the car. I said, Mom, you didn't eat that ham, did you? And she goes, oh, for crying out loud, no. It tasted terrible. I know what you did, Mom. You opened the bag and went, ooh, it's stinky. Well, let's see what it tastes like. I was in Chicago doing a play, and there was a deli there that was famous for its chicken sandwich. And on my off night one night, I went to get the chicken sandwich at the deli, and it was everything everybody had said it would be. It was delicious. And the next day, I read in the paper that there was a salmonella outbreak in Chicago. Yeah, and then the next day I read that they had traced the outbreak to that deli, to the chicken sandwich. There were people getting really sick all over the city. There were people who went to the hospital. A couple people almost died. I had salmonella and I felt fine. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you didn't really have it. Oh, baby, I did. And I won't get too graphic with it, but I will tell you this. As soon as I ate, like 10 minutes later, I went to the bathroom and it came right out. Just like I'd eaten it. And, actually, looking at this crowd, I can probably put it in these terms. How many of you have done a colonoscopy? Ever prepped for a colonoscopy? That's what it was like. Oh, but it was great. For 10 days, I could eat anything I wanted. And it went right through. I was eating like a pig, man. Giordano's pizza, Italian subs, and everything went right there. I was losing weight. I'm thinking about writing a diet book called The Salmonella Diet. It's not for everyone. And I thought, well, you know what? I think my mom has fed me enough mold and bacteria in my lifetime that I have built up a resistance to foodborne pathogens. And I know this may sound like I'm bragging, but I think I'm a bit of a gastrointestinal superhero. Oh yeah, I don't know how I will use my powers for good, but I do know this, that if I'm alive when the apocalypse happens, and there's nothing to eat but bad meat and tainted water, and people are dying right and left, I will survive. And who do I have to thank for it? Mom. My mom. Was that a true story, Rob?
Absolutely.
I sometimes stretch the truth a little bit, but man, that's true. Okay, I'm going to tell a story that you have not heard, Mom. My first kiss. Oh, yeah. We went to church all the time, First Baptist Church, Jerseyville, Illinois. And we always were in Sunday school, and when we got old enough, when we were teenagers, Vicki and I were in the youth group. You were too young, Rob, but we were in the youth group, and on Fridays and Saturdays nights, we'd go hang out with those Baptist kids, and man, we got wild. Oh, yeah, we, all night long, we'd play ping pong and bumper pool and drink sodas. It was crazy. And sometimes by the time Mom picked me up, I drank maybe 3 or 4 Sprites. Wow, yeah. Yeah, we were pretty tame. And there was a point where we were going to take a big youth trip down to a youth explosion, they called it, in St. Louis, about an hour and a half away. And we had rented a bus for the event, and to save money, we were going to have the Methodist youth group join us. Well, somebody started a rumor that those Methodist kids were really wild. Yeah, because Methodists and Baptists are so different. And so, you know how rumors are, it built up steam that by the time the day rolled around, we were scared of those Methodists. And when we got on the bus, we let the Methodists go sit in the back of the bus. The name of their youth group was the God Squad, which, by the way, was about the name of 90% of youth groups in the 70s. So the God Squad sat in the back of the bus, and we, the good kids, sat with the good kids Sid in the front of the bus. And there was one girl in our youth group that she came to church sometimes, but she never came to the youth group. And her name was Cindy Wagner. She was very pretty, but everybody thought she didn't talk, and everybody thought she's stuck up. She's just stuck up. But I had a tender heart, and I could see. Please don't get ahead of me.
We know you.
Yeah. The downside of inviting all your friends and charging them $10 to listen to you tell stories. So let's go back to it. Okay, yeah, we'll cut that part out for the tape. But I had a tender heart, and I thought, you know what, Cindy Wagner just needs someone to sit with her and be her friend, and sit with her on this hour-and-a-half bus ride to St. Louis. And did I mention she was cute? Very, very, very cute. Which was probably the core of my Christian generosity. So I sat with Cindy, and we talked for the first 45 minutes on the way down there. It went great. Well, I talked. Imagine that. But she listened, and I thought things were going pretty well, you know? That I thought, you know what, I bet, I'm 14, I haven't held a girl's hand or kissed her anything, and I thought, things are going well, I'll bet we could hold hands. So I waited for Cindy to make the first move. And she did. She was looking out the window, and she put her hand on the seat between us. That was the first move. And so I put my hand on the seat next to her and slowly moved my hand over till the side of my hand was touching the side of her hand. She did not pull her hand away. Time for phase 2. I took my pinky and I put it on the back of her hand, and I did this. Little swirls, right? Tender, gentle. Cindy did something, quiet little Cindy did something that I didn't expect. She yanked her hand away and yelled, said at a very top of her voice, "Oh my God, Ricky Hall, are you trying to hold my hand?" "No, I just bumped you." "I wouldn't, I didn't." Oh, everybody heard it. The God Squad, the Baptist, bus driver, the youth leader, people in the cars around us. I was crushed. First time I'd ever been shot down by a woman. It was terrible. I was brokenhearted. I don't remember anything about the youth explosion down in St. Louis, because the whole day I was paranoid that everybody was talking behind my back. Be careful. There goes Ricky Hall. He's a hand holder. That night when the whole thing was done, it was dark. We got on the bus. The God Squad sat in the back. And, the Baptists, they sat in the front. And I sat in the middle of the bus. To be alone and lick my wounds. Seriously, it was actually pretty crushing, right? I mean, to be shut down by your first real love. And I was sitting alone, I was looking out the window, and I heard somebody say, "Can I sit with you?" And I turned and looked, and it was one of the Methodist girls. Not just one of them, the cutest Methodist girl in that whole group. And I thought, well, obviously she has not heard of my alleged hand-holding charges. So I said, "I'm sorry, what?" She said, "Ricky, can I sit with you?" And I said, "You know my name?" She goes, "Well, you still got your name tag on." Sure, you may sit with her. Name was Mary, and she sat with me, and we talked. Both of us talked, and we laughed, and we shared stories. Immediately, my spirit changed. Oh boy, I was at that age when just a little attention from a cute girl could turn me around in a second. Oh boy, hormones are great, aren't they? And we talked for about 45 minutes, and then it got quiet, and we didn't talk, and that was okay, because we were so comfortable in each other's presence, you know? And I was looking out the window, and all of a sudden I felt it. The side of my hand on the seat. She was touching my hand. It's a trap, I thought. she's trying to trick me into holding her hand, and then she's going to go, oh my God, Ricky Hall, you're a hand holder. And then everybody would know, and I'd be labeled for life, and I'd go to hell. And so I just froze. I left my hand there. And she put her hand on top of mine, and she was rubbing my hand. This went on for 2 minutes before I finally thought, I think she really does want to hold my hand. And I turned my hand over, and she held my hand. And I don't mean like prayer circle holding hands that you do with a guy. No, our fingers intertwined. Our fingers were doing it. And it was heaven. In the Baptist church, we talk a lot about heaven, and we're not quite sure what it's like. It's that. It's holding hands with a girl for the first time. It was great. And we held hands for maybe 10 minutes, and the bus pulled into the McDonald's parking lot, and the youth advisor stood up and he said, all right, you got a half an hour. Go in, get your food, sit down, eat, and get back on the bus. And all the kids left. All the young Christians piled off the bus, except for Mary and I. And we sat there, and I said, well, I suppose we should go get something to eat. And I got up, and she said, you know what? I'm really tired. I think I want to stay on the bus. Never occurred to me that she might want me to stay on the bus. I'm thinking fish fillet, fries, and chocolate shake. But I said, well, can I get you something? Because I thought, now that we're a couple, I should offer to buy her. And Dad and Mom had given me $10, so I knew I could afford to buy her a pretty nice meal. So she goes, no, I don't want anything, but could I just share your food? Yes. Yes, because that's what couples do. Couples who hold hands like this together can share food too. I ran off the bus, went to the front of the line, cut in front of the line. I said, I need a fish fillet, chocolate shake, fries, in a bag to go, now, stop! And I ran back on the bus. I sat down with Mary. I opened the bag, and before I could even get the fries out, she leaned over and kissed me right on the mouth. It was not everything I hoped. I seen Love American Style. I thought the fireworks were going. No, for all the hype about how fast and wild these Methodist kids are, Mary did not know how to kiss. She missed my lips. She kind of like had her mouth open and she was over my lips. And I thought, oh, this poor girl doesn't know how to kiss. Oh, this has got to be embarrassing for her. So I leaned in to kiss her again, and she did it again. And I thought, oh, I don't want her to feel bad. You know what? I'll open my lips a little bit. And this, please, people, don't get ahead of me. And she opened her lips, and our lips touched, and the fireworks went off. It was great. I had never kissed like this before. I kissed my mom, I kissed Aunt Eileen, but not like this. Just saying it is creepy. But then all of a sudden, the kiss went on for several seconds, and then she opened her mouth a little wider, and that's when the fireworks went off. Oh my gosh, I had heard about French kissing, but I never thought one day I would do it on a church bus with a Methodist. Oh, I don't know how long we kissed because time stands still when you are French kissing for the first time. Oh, it was great. I all of a sudden, all the other kids started getting on the bus and we broke our kiss. She grabbed the milkshake, I grabbed the fries, and we played it cool. Nobody knew. But when we drove, we finished. We're on the way to Jerseyville, and we finished our fries and our fish fillet and our chocolate shake. And Mary leaned over to me and she whispered in my ear, fish fillet is my favorite. Oh, I was good, folks. We held hands for the last 10 minutes on the way to Jerseyville, but when we got there, all our parents were waiting for us. So there was no last goodbye kiss. There was no last moment, but that was okay. Because I just had the most exciting, sensual evening of my life on a church bus, which makes it better. And the reality is, we never never saw each other after that. But don't feel sad. We could not be together. We were like Romeo and Juliet, the Montagues and the Capulets. We all know a Baptist and a Methodist can never get married. And during the summer, I told Dad that I'd work with Rob and Vicki and him, and I'd help on the farm until November 1st, no matter where we were, and taking out the crops. I was going to drive to Chicago and start my career as an actor. And I did. November 1st, everything was packed up. I went straight from the farm to the Shirley Hamilton Talent Agency, where Heidi Swanson, a McMurray graduate, where Heidi worked as one of the assistants there. And she got me an appointment with Shirley Hamilton. And I was sitting in the outer office waiting for my first professional meeting. And I crossed my legs and I looked at my shoes and I had dried cow manure on the side of my shoe. I was still a little bit of a farm boy. And I moved in to Little Italy with my friend Mike Lindauer, another McMurray graduate. And but Little Italy was so Italian, of course it was. But they thought I was Italian because I looked like I was Italian. And so the Italians, they take care of each other and they welcome me in. And I think my first acting job was acting Italian. I would say things like, in no time I was saying things like, hey Mikey, you want to get a sausage and Italian ice and go down to the park and eat it? Yeah. And they gave me a nickname. They thought I looked like Robin Williams, so they called me Mork. They'd say, hey Mork, when are you going to do another commercial? Hey Mork, I seen you last night on the TV on that show with that guy about the thing, you know? So I had a place where I belonged. I had people that, I had a nickname for crying out loud. And they took care of me, and there were the boys that were on the street all the time. And day and night, the guys were there, these young men. But I was safe because I belonged there, okay? And I remember one time this older guy, his name was Cheese Feet, which by the way, I asked one time, why do they call him Cheese Feet? And Mario said, just don't let him take his shoes off in your house. I said, Cheese Feet said to me, hey, you know the boys on the street. You be careful. I mean, they're good boys, but they're evil. So one day I come out of my apartment, and Johnny, one of the boys, he's standing there and he goes, hey, Mark, is this your car? I go, yeah, you know it is. And he goes, yeah, you know what? Your car looks like crap. I said, yeah, and it had a few dings and bumps, and it had, somebody broken out the window once and stole the stereo, so the whole dash was missing. But it was a perfect Chicago car, because nobody would bother it. And it had big rubber bumpers. Man, I could get in any parking space, and I didn't mind using them. So I love this car, and he goes, hey, Mark, you got insurance on this car? I go, yeah. He goes, you got full coverage? I said, yeah. And he goes, you know, a car like this could get stolen. You got full coverage, could be a good thing. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. He goes, no, I mean, you accidentally leave the keys in it one night, you know, you get everything out of it you might want, and that night it could get stolen, okay? And then it ends up in that vacant lot down on Halstead Street with a rag in the gas tank, and then some smart-ass kid comes along and lights a rag on fire, the car blows up and burns up. You got full coverage, could be a good thing. I still don't get it. I'm like, well, Johnny, that's a lot of coincidence. He goes, no more. I mean, I can make that happen. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, thank you. But no, I'm going to keep this car. No, I like this car. And he says, well, just remember, you are what you drive. Your car, it's a piece of crap. So Chicago is where I met Laura Wasserman, who is now Laura Hall. I got hired by the Second City, and I went backstage that first night to meet the cast and do the improv set with them. And I'm like, oh, cool, this is the cast I'm going to tour with. And then, ooh, I like that piano player. And I will tell you now something that even our cast didn't know, is we had a road romance. You're on tour and you have a romance, nobody's supposed to do that. It's not a good idea, and they never last. We dated for 7 years. We've been married for 28. So there you go. But then we moved to LA in 1991. Actually an agent came to Second City and said, "I'll represent you if you come to LA." And it turns out they were there's A, B, and C agents like quality, and she was A, like top A agent. So I was very lucky. And I had a series where I was Rosie O'Donnell's husband. If that tells you how long ago that was, what America would believe I could be Rosie O'Donnell. And Laura and I moved out there and we thought, well, we'll try it out for a couple years and see how it goes. And we've been out there since '91. And we have our kids there, and 2 girls. And as I said before, nobody can even begin to tell you how much work it is to raise kids until you start doing it. And then it continues, and you think and you go through these phases where you're like, oh, good, they're not in diapers anymore. Oh, good, there are no bottles. And then they become teenagers, and you don't like them. They sometimes don't like you, but for good reason. Because, okay, I was embarrassing to my daughters. Everything I said, everything I did, no matter what I did, I was embarrassing. It was stupid or it was embarrassing. But part of the reason is I raised the bar on embarrassing because my kids call me, and my wife call me Captain Friendly. Because I will talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Which is a trait I learned from my mom. Not only did you not want to go to the grocery store with her because of the coupons, just walking through the pickle aisle could take 25 minutes. Here's my mom. Okay, I remember doing this. Here's my mom answering the phone when we were kids. We're all sitting at the table ready for dinner. Hang on, the phone's ringing. We didn't have an answering machine back then. Couldn't let that phone ring without picking it up. Mm-hmm. Hello, hi, it's Jenny. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Yeah, no. Yeah, he lives, Garrison, he lives down the road. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, oh, hey, you know his wife's sick. She's in the hospital. Right. No, but their daughter Cindy, she's there. And she's for the home for the summer. She did good in school this year. No, I'm sorry. I need to get going too. We're just sitting down to dinner. Okay, well, it's good talking to you. Don't forget ham and bean dinner at church on Thursday. Yeah. Okay, we'll see you there. Bye-bye. Who was that, Mom? It was a wrong number. I made fun of my mom when I was a kid for that. Now it's me. I'll be on the phone having a conversation, and Laura will go, "Who was that?" And I go, "I don't know, somebody selling solar panels." And you know what? They're like, "Please let me go, sir." Everybody else get these solicitor phone calls, and they're like, "I can't talk to you," or click, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? Where are you now? Right now? Oh, Pakistan. What's it like? What's the weather in Pakistan?" Okay, so I was completely embarrassing to my kids because I was Captain Friendly. Plus, I'll even raise the bar a little bit more. I did commercials for things that might embarrass my children. Let's just say it. I did a Viagra commercial. And I remember my daughter Ruthie was 10 years old, and she said to me, "Dad, why does everybody laugh when they talk about the Viagra commercial?" And I said, "Honey, and I was thinking on my feet, I thought I was good. I said, "Honey, because it's medicine for like an old man." And she said, "There's more to it than that." I said, "You really want to know? I'm asking, aren't I?" So I told her what medicine Viagra works on for a man, and she said, "I don't think I'd put that on my resume." And then she said, "Wait a minute, is this going to be on TV and everybody's going to make fun of me for this now?" And I said, "No, honey, it's only running in Canada." And she said, "Great, now we can never go to Canada." It was a wonderful exit. It was great. It was great. So imagine when, sorry, I'm a little dry. Imagine when dance instructor in middle school needed some handyman work at the dance studio, and I volunteered to do it. She was mortified to think that I would embarrass her there too, because she's insulated at school. I can't be there, but I was gonna be. So the night before I was gonna go, she sat me down and she said, "Dad, I have 3 rules for being on campus tonight." She's deadly serious, so I took it real seriously. I'm, "Okay, honey, what?" She said, "Number 1, no singing or whistling while you're walking around." Because that's mortifying, right? I'm like, "Okay, honey." Number 2, don't talk to any kids or any teachers while you walk around. Okay. And number 3, don't take off your shirt. I'm pretty hairy. Yeah. And I thought, I said, "Honey, why would I ever take off my shirt?" "Dad, just promise." I said, "Okay, honey, I promise I won't." Next day I got to school and I went straight to the dance studio. Kids would say, "Hello, sir," and I would go, "Oh, I'm not talking to you." I'd start to whistle and I'm like, "Oh, don't whistle." And I got to the dance studio. When you came in, there was a little carpeted area with a teacher's desk. Miss Daniels was the teacher, and desk, and then some books and file cabinets and stuff. And in the middle of the floor was their beautiful new wooden dance floor that they had worked for years to get. They had struggled with the school board, and they had yard sales and bake sales, and they sold like wrapping paper that we all have to use. And they had finally made enough money to buy this beautiful wooden dance floor. It was great. And the next phase in the remodeling was to remodel the 2 bathrooms, the dressing rooms, the boys' dressing room, the girls' dressing room. And she took me to the girls' dressing room and she said, "Will you do the demolition? Just demo everything in here. And by the way, that pipe sticking out of the wall, can you cut that off?" And I said, "Are you sure that's not a water pipe? 3/4-inch pipe with a cap on the end." I'm like, "Are you sure that's not a water pipe?" She goes, "It's an old one. It hasn't had water in it for years." Again, people slow down. So she said, "I've got to go teach a class, a couple other classes. I'll be out of here for a couple hours. So you've got the place to yourself." I started with the pipe. And my pipe wrencher with me, and I got the cap to break loose so I could turn it with my fingers, and it was almost off those last few threads, those last couple of threads. And I stopped for a second because I saw 1 drop of water. And I thought, "Do you think this water line is charged? Do you think it's pressurized?" No, I am smart. I knew there was just residual water in it from before, so I got a trash can and put it under the pipe, and I turned it that last half a turn. There was so much water pressure behind this cap, it blew it out of my hand and it hit the wall over across the room. I never saw it again. The water was shooting out like 3 feet before it even started to drop. It was like a fire hose. My first impulse was to stick my thumb over it and try and stop it. Water squirting everywhere. I almost lost my thumb. The water's, I'm soaking wet. I've got to get the maintenance guy to turn this off. I run out to the carpeted area across the wooden dance floor. Soaking wet. I call the maintenance man. I say something brilliant like, "We got a leak here in the water. Turn off the water." Oh! And he's like, "What?" He said, "Turn off the water to the dance studio. There's a broken pipe." Broken pipe. Like, I hang up, I go back in, I look for something to try and slow down the water. I look around for the cap. It's nowhere to be found. Turned out later, by the way, it was embedded in the wall. So I look around, there's a broom laying on the floor, actually floating in the little lake. By now there's a small lake and there's about ankle deep. It's about, the wooden handle's about the right size. I jam it into the pipe. It did nothing but make it a jet stream. And it was squirting me right in the face like a power washer, the kind that takes paint off the wall. So I moved to the right and then it squirted all over the wall with all the lights and the outlets over there. I can't believe I didn't get electrocuted. I go, "Oh, I gotta turn this way." It squirted out the door onto the dance floor. Water on the dance floor. Bad boy. I finally leaned back and I leaned into it. It was squirting on the ceiling tiles. They were getting wet and falling down. I thought, well, I'm supposed to demo this part. I'm getting exhausted because it is hard to try and stop Niagara Falls with a broomstick. And finally, the water pressure subsided, and the maintenance man had turned it off, and I dropped the broom. I was exhausted. I just looked around. I thought, man, I thought there would be more water than this. This isn't too bad. And then I looked, and there was a small river running out the door under the new dance floor. Oh. Hundreds of gallons of water were going under the new, beautiful dance floor. And I had this image in my head of Miss Daniels coming in tomorrow morning and unlocking the door, and the big, beautiful dance floor would be warped into, it looked like a big Pringles potato chip in the middle of the dance. And then for years they would say, hey, who was it ruined our dance floor before we even got to use it? And they would say, Ruthie Hall's dad. I went into the carpeted area, the maintenance guy came in, and he said the perfect thing. He said, oh geez, this is bad. This is really bad. Okay, do you have a shop vac or a wet dry vac or something I can start sucking up this water? Yeah, this is bad. Yeah, no, just go get the shop vac. He leaves, I'm soaking wet. Okay, I can see water coming under the walls into the carpeted area. I'm picking up books and stuff that are on there, and papers and stuff that are on, I put them on her desk because everything's getting wet. I'm soaking wet, I take off my shirt and wring it out. Please, people. The 6th period bell rang. I am not making this up. I stretch the truth sometimes, but I swear to you, they were the first child through that door for dance class was my daughter. And I'm standing there with no shirt on. Sorry. She looked horrified, like she walked in on a crime scene, like blood everywhere. And she grabbed everybody, and all these kids are trying to come in, and she's pushing them backwards. And they said, who is that? And I heard her say as the door closed, I have no idea. I got the shop vac and I started sucking up water. It turns out that the dance floor was a floating dance floor. Well, was that day? But it was off the floor, off the concrete just a little bit, and the concrete sloped towards the carpeted area. I stood there for hours just sucking up water as it came out till there was no more water left. No more would come out. And it was late. It was 8:30 at night. Everybody had gone home. I walked through the school. I didn't talk to anybody then. I could have taken off my shirt. But man, I got home and it was quiet at our house. I said to Laura, should I talk to Ruthie? And she goes, please don't. Ruthie went to school the next day and she came home and she didn't seem that upset. And I said, hey, how's dance class? She goes, fine. I go, was the dance floor okay? Yeah. I said, oh, good. Next day she went to school. Again, nothing. I didn't talk to her about it. I thought this is good enough. Because when you've got an angry teenage daughter and things are going good enough, you're like, hey, this is good enough. It wasn't until I was writing this story earlier in the year, my daughter's, Ruthie, is in college. I called her. And I said, hey, honey, you remember when I flooded the dance floor? She goes, yeah. I said, you weren't really mad at me the next day. How come? And she goes, oh, I guess I never told you, did I? I go, what? She said, well, Miss Daniels was always kind of mean to me, and she was giving me a C in the class. But she thought it was her fault that the floor got flooded and that you had saved the day. And so after that, she treated me really nicely and I got an A in dance class. Sometimes as a dad, you're stupid. Sometimes you're embarrassing. But sometimes, every now and then, you get to be the hero. There we go. That's how that watch works. Okay, 2 more quick Captain Friendly stories. The difference between Captain Friendly Rick and the Captain Friendly my mom is sometimes I can be a bit of a smarty pants. But you're thinking, oh, really? In Chicago, I was riding my bike down the street, and there was a guy trying to get into his car. He had locked his keys into his car, and he had a wire, and he was trying to get into his car, and he was just making a mess of it. He was a doofus. And I told you I've lost my keys before, and I knew how to get into my car without scratching it all up. And so I'm on my bike, I'm at the passenger side of the car. It's a one-way street, he's on the curb. I go, hey man, you need any help? And he goes, no man, I got it. And I said, well, I've done it a few times, if you need any help. I got it, man, I got it. I'm like, oh, okay, calm down. I go to get on my car and on my bike, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna check the passenger side door and see if it's locked. It opened. He was so focused on his stupid wire, he didn't even notice me open the door. So instead of saying, like a good cat, my mom would say, oh, this door is open, I got in the car. I slid across the seat. He still didn't see me. I got to, and I go, okay, I'll pull the wire down and hook it up. He said, get out of my car! I go, that door, this door! I'm like, okay, why so angry? He goes, how'd you do that? I go, the other door was open. He goes, get out of here! I'm telling you, I really did. What was I thinking? I can't believe I didn't get my butt kicked. Okay, one more. Okay, in the city, if your dog poops, you're supposed to carry little bags with you and pick up the dog poop. It's the law. And if you don't, you are not very nice. You deserve to be ridiculed, I think. Laura and I were walking from the store. Nobody walks in LA but Laura and I, evidently. And we were walking back from the store. We got a couple bags, plastic bags, and we get in our neighborhood and we notice this couple walking their dog, and they let their dog poop in our neighbor's yard. And they're quite a ways ahead of us, but then they just leave it. Big poop, big steaming dog poop. I'm like, oh boy, this calls for Captain Friendly. I took all of our stuff, dumped it in one bag, ran up, grabbed the poop. I ran up to him and I said, oh, I'm so glad I caught you. This fell out of your dog's butt. So nicely, they said, thank you. And then I walked away, and that's when they realized I handed them a bag of dog food. Laura, and I had my back to them. Laura said they ran out of our neighborhood. I got to LA, and I didn't have a doctor yet, and I threw out my back in high school when I was wrestling. Terry Twitchell, and that's his real name. Marion, your son Terry, where are you, Marion? Your son Terry and I were fooling around, and I compressed a couple discs in my back, and ever since then, I've had what I call the Terry Twitchell back, which it goes out and it's bad. Well, I got the Terry Twitchell back when I got to LA, and I didn't have a doctor or a chiropractor yet, and my friend said, you need to see my acupuncturist, Sharon. And I was willing to do anything, so she gave me Sharon's directions to Sharon's house. And Sharon lived up in Topanga Canyon. And I don't know if you know Topanga Canyon, but like, it's about an hour away from LA, and in the 60s and 70s, it's where all the hippies hung out. Okay, because it's up in the mountains, okay? And they lived in these little cabins and shacks, and they would add on to their houses and unpermitted add-ons. It's where all the hippies were. But then rich people finally figured out, hey, that's a great place to live because you're really close to LA, but you're a million miles away from the city because you're up there, you're 45 minutes away, but you feel like you're a million miles away. So in Topanga, you've got multi-million-dollar houses right next to shacks. And it's kind of an interesting community. So anyway, Sharon lived up there, and I got the directions, and it was a rainy day, and I was driving up the mountain road on the paved road, and the directions took me up a hill, up to a gravel road that turned into a dirt road, which was all muddy. It was just a sticky, muddy mess, but my back was killing me. I'm like, I've got to do something. I got to the top of the hill, it says turn right into Sharon's driveway. I could not find a driveway anywhere. And finally I got out, I looked, I couldn't get out. I looked and I could see there was a small opening in the trees with 2 tire tracks. So I pulled my car in there, tree limbs scraping down my car, and I pulled down this muddy trail, and finally I come out, and tree limbs again, all over. And I come to a clearing, and there's one of these hippie shacks. Okay, and I'm telling you, this is the kind of place that like you would find in the Smoky Mountains, that kind of shack. And I got out of the car, and it took me almost a full minute to stand up. And as I was standing up, these 2 great big hound dogs came from the side of the house, soaking wet. Luckily, they were nice. They came running up, and they're licking me and jumping on me. They're muddy. They stink. They smell like rolls of carpet. It's nasty, like ambulatory carpet is what they were. And I was thinking, oh, just get in the car and leave. And then the front door of the cabin opened up, and this woman came out, and she whistled for the dogs, and they just ran into the house, muddy, stinky, and it was Sharon. And in my mind, Sharon, I had pictured as this sweet little Asian woman who would meet me at the door with some herbal tea and go, oh, Rick, so good to see you. You relax, okay? No. Sharon was a blonde bombshell about 30 years ago, and who had been in TV shows and stuff, but the business is pretty cruel to women, and so she was not working as an actress, so she followed her heart and became a healer. Okay? Now you're going to think all LA people are fruits and nuts, but they're not. I'm just telling you a story about one that is. So Sharon says, first thing she says is, oh, Jake and Bert, the dogs, they like you. Okay, come on in. And she took me through her put together cabin with all these extra added on non-permitted buildings as a part of it. And we walked through the kitchen, and as we walked, she told me about her journey from sitcoms to acupuncture, which would make a good sitcom. And then she took me to the healing room. Okay, the healing room was just one of these add-on rooms, a lean-to that was actually leaking water down one wall. If it was in the Smoky Mountains, it would be the wood shop where some guy would make little knickknacks for Dollywood. little toothpick holders that say, pickin' and grinning. Or a little outdoor toilet, the outdoor John's with a half-moon window, and it says, pause thinking room. And so, I went into the healing room, and the dogs, Jake and Bert, were laying in the corner just licking themselves, which did not seem like the proper venue for healing. And she said, okay, take off most of your clothes, you can stay in your underwear, and lay on the table on your face. And there was a cradle, so all I could see was the floor, okay? And for the longest time, nothing happened. And I said, Sharon, what are you doing? She goes, I'm feeling your energy. And evidently healers, they like to tell you what they're doing. She goes, I'm feeling your energy, and I'm feeling a warm, negative energy spot right here in your lower back. I'd already told her it was my and it's blocking your chakra flow to your chi. Well, I'll put some needles in your hot zone and move through your body meridian and relieve the pain. I'm like, okay, let's just make this pain go away. Okay? I want to be able to walk when I get out of here. So she started putting in the needles. Now, I don't know a lot about acupuncture, but my understanding is it's not supposed to hurt. But it hurt. It hurt, and I figured out why. Because she's sticking needles in my flesh. Yeah, that hurts. Okay, and I don't know what she was doing back there, but it really, I swore a couple of them felt like she'd taken a 16-penny nail and back. And at one point she goes, oh, you have a real danger zone in your lower back. Yeah, that's why I'm here. She said, I have to go to get a special needle. She walked out of the room. When she came back, I couldn't see, but I swear that she broke the antenna off my car, sharpened it up, and drove it into my right butt cheek. Oh, it hurt. And I went, ow! And she goes, oh, you felt that. I've hit a pain threshold. And I said, honey, you hit bone. She said, now I just want you to relax for a few minutes, and I'll let you be alone with yourself. I'm like, okay. There's 40 needles in my back, and I'm laying there, and I realize she's right. I've been holding my breath the whole time. So I try. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let this out. Well, that woke up Bert and Jake. I guess I sounded like a dying animal because they started roaming around the room looking for the corpse, you know? And I can't see anything until they walk right underneath my face. This dirty carpet dog. And his tail is and then the other one starts licking my feet. And then I feel the other one that was underneath me before has his paws on the side of the bed, and he's rearranging needles with his mouth. Sharon, get in here! Sharon comes in, she goes, oh, Jakey. Like Jakey's pushing needles around on my back. She goes, yeah, isn't it? So she took the needles out. I said, okay, are we done? She goes, no, now I'm going to cup you. I didn't know what that meant. It sounded like something from an adult film. I said, hey, what's the cupping? And she goes, oh, I take the cups, and they were clear glass bowls, and I put alcohol in them, and then I light it on fire, and I put it on your back, and it puts it out. It snuffs it out immediately, and it causes negative pressure, and it will attach to your back like a little siphon. And I go, like a toilet plunger? And she said, yes, kind of. And I go, why don't you use toilet plunger? She goes, because we don't. So, and I said, well, I'm pretty hairy. Is this going to make a suction? She said, yes, it will work. It works on everyone. She put the first two on, and I heard them kind of go. She got to the third one, and she put it on me, and I didn't hear the. And I thought, it feels like it's still burning. And I thought, no, surely not. And then I smelled that distinctly burnt hair. And I said, Sharon, I think I'm on fire. And she goes, no, there's no, oh my God. She's beating on me. Thank goodness you pulled the needle. I had been on fire. There was a small brush fire on my back. And she goes, oh, maybe we won't cup you anymore. Yeah, maybe. She pulled them off. I jumped in my clothes, got dressed, bent down to tie my shoes, and she said, well, you couldn't do that an hour ago, could you? As much as I hated to admit it, I had just bent over and tied my shoes. This crappy acupuncture worked. I got in my car and wove through the trees, and they scratched on my car some more, and I turned on the radio, and all I got was static, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and my antenna had broken off by the trees. It had broken off and was not, or... Okay, I'm going to tell you one more story, and it's about my dad's funeral, okay? I was walking my dog, it was November 17th, 2011, and I was walking my dog in North Hollywood, and I got the call from Vicky that Dad had passed away rather suddenly. I mean, he'd been sick for a while, but we didn't expect him to pass away. And I remember that walking the dog and just being so lost all of a sudden, you know? And the next thing I knew, you know, a few days later, I was on a plane back to St. Louis, and I flew into St. Louis. I don't even remember who picked me up, and took me straight to the church where my family was so we could do the visitation. And to be honest with you, the last thing I wanted to do at that point was to be with a bunch of people, even though they loved my dad. I wanted to just be my family, with my family, because Dad was a cornerstone of our family, and I wasn't sure what the picture of my family looked without Dad in it, you know? But we didn't have time. Rick Hires, the funeral home director, I used his real name. Rick Hires, he prepped us for it, and we got to see Dad, but then next thing we knew, we were out there, and people started coming in, and as it turns out, that visitation was exactly what I needed. It was supposed to last 3 hours, and it went on for over 4 hours because there was a continuous stream of people coming in to tell us, to shake our hands, to kiss us, to hug us, to tell us how much Dad meant to them. And I gotta tell you, I don't think my dad had any enemies. And I can't say that about anybody else, including you people. We all know there are a few enemies, but I don't think my dad had any enemies. Can you imagine dying with that legacy, that everybody loved you and respected you? We were there, and people just kept coming and coming, and they would tell us stories. Some of them we'd heard, and some of them we hadn't heard. And we laughed and cried, and I looked up, and everything was going well until I looked up, and I saw my high school, grade school enemy standing in line, Randy Wagner. Oh, I did not want to see him. He had beaten me up so many times I couldn't even tell, and I didn't want to talk to him, and I thought, you know what? In this situation, I could be rude to him, and people would understand. I don't have to talk to him. And he got closer, and I could see he was visibly upset. And when he got to me, he shook my hand with that man hand, that hard-working man hand it's more of a ham than a hand. That big, strong, calloused hand, and he held on to my hand. And all he could manage to say was, "Your dad was a good man." And he walked away. And that's all he could say, because that's all he could say, without getting upset, like I just did. And as he walked away, I felt this load lift off my shoulders. This load didn't even realize I'd been lugging around for all these years, this resentment that I didn't need to be carrying around. And it's replaced by reconciliation and forgiveness. And it wasn't anything Randy had done or I had done. It was my dad. That's the kind of dad I had. The next day was a funeral. And if I can say this, it was a good funeral. It was, there were a lot of music, Dad loved music. For those of you who don't know, my dad got tricked into playing Shirley Temple. Mom was supposed to be in the Carroll Community Chorus, and she was supposed to be Shirley Temple in the Carroll Community Chorus show. And she made the mistake of rehearsing. No, she rehearsed in front of Dad. He made the mistake of correcting her. And she said, "If you think you can do it better, then you do it." Well, Dad's like, "I'm not doing it." Betty Carrico got whiff of that, the director of the Carroll Community Chorus. Next thing you knew, my dad was in a short skirt, a wig, and shiny patent leather shoes that he got from Aunt Eileen. And he sang "Good Ship Lollipop" in front of hundreds of people. That's the kind of stories that people told at my dad's funeral. And I'm glad there were funny stories, because my dad, he didn't talk a lot. He was a pretty quiet guy, but he loved to tell a story. And he had a few stories that were so funny that he couldn't get through them. And we would bait him to tell his stories just so we could watch him tell it. And he'd get going and he'd slap his knee and he'd laugh so hard he couldn't even finish the stupid story. But it didn't matter, because it wasn't about the content of the story, it was my dad telling it that was so joyful. And at the end of the funeral, the cars all lined up for the procession out to the cemetery. And there were a few moments that day that were, for me, they were just profound. And that was one of the moments when 15 cars drove through town and people pulled over right and left for us. And nobody said, "Pull over, pull over." That's what happens in a small town. They feel it when somebody in this community is gone, and they show respect. And I mean grain trucks, cars, bicycles. It was great. And it was one of those profound moments, and it was so quiet in the car. And Mom looked up and she said, "Oh, look, gas is 5 cents cheaper." We should fill up on the way back. completely appropriate for us. My dad would have appreciated it. You know, I remember at my funeral, my wife saved 38 cents on a taxi. The cemetery was out in the country, past Mom and Dad's house, and here was another one of those profound moments. All the cars except for the hearse and our family car stopped along the road, and we drove up in Mom and Dad's lane and made the circle through the lot where Dad spent most of his time working on things and built up that lot to with the buildings and the tractors and everything. We drove through that part and we came out, and Dad's dog Winnie just sat under the cedar tree. Winnie usually chases everybody, but it was like Winnie got it. It was a profound moment. And we drove down the lane and we went to the cemetery, and it's a small little cemetery, and there was an honor guard there for Dad. He had served in Korea. And my daughters said, "Who are the old dudes in uniform?" And I explained that there would be a military gun salute, which I thought was sufficient. They did not understand what that meant. Now, I say these, I hope none of these guys are here tonight, but they are wearing the uniforms they wore when they were young men. And most of them have put on a few pounds, so their uniforms fit them less like clothing and more like sausage cases. Don't get a sharp knife near any of these guys, man. But, so they were lined up and standing at attention, and there were three of them, and then the one older guy, he was just the opposite. He was all bent over, a little skinny old man, and his uniform hung on him. He was more like the hanger that would hold the uniform, waiting for some young, strong serviceman to put it on. And he stood there and he was saluting too. And he could only look at the ground, occasionally glancing up for navigation purposes. And we pulled up, and there were 2 rows of seats. They had that little tent at the gravesite, and there were 2 rows of seats, and Dad had all his brothers and sisters were there with all their spouses. So they took up all the seats. So the kids, all the grandkids, 7 of them, lined up against the back wall of the tent. What we didn't realize is the honor guard was right on the other side. So a thin piece of canvas between 7 young grandkids that don't understand what an honor guard is going to do, and 3 old VFW dudes with itchy triggers and M16 and itchy trigger fingers. So it came to the part of service when it was time for the salute. And the minister just gave a look to the old man who was standing at the mouth of the tent, and his cue to the fire was he did the salute, okay? And you heard them, they went, "Ready, aim, fire!" 7 grandchildren. Ah! And they gained control just in time for ready, aim, fire! Whoa! And I'm like, okay, here comes a third one. Surely they get it. No, third time around. Ah! So, okay, we're trying not to laugh. We're trying not to laugh because it's my dad's funeral for Christ's sake. And we know that the most solemn moment of the night is coming, when the bugle player will play a slow and mournful taps. Okay? And well, it turns out nobody in the VFW, nobody knew how to play the bugle. So they had bought a CD player in the shape of a trumpet. Okay, so the shiny plastic CD player, and all he has to do is press the button for taps. Evidently, he doesn't know how to play the CD player any better than he knows how to play the trumpet, because he pushed the wrong button, and then instead of the slow, mournful pom, 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 he pushed reveille. And he didn't know it. And we let it play. And he said, "I've heard Alfred." And the old guy at the front of the tent, he knew what was going on, and he said it loud enough. We're not laughing yet. He said it loud enough for everybody to hear. "What the hell?" We're laughing in the tent. Rick Hires is standing there looking like he's really sad, but he's like, not real professional, Rick. We don't blame you. And you you know what? It was completely appropriate at my dad's funeral that we should have that kind of laugh, you know? Because my dad would have liked that funeral. I don't know what heaven is like, but I'd like to think my dad's heaven is him sitting around a kitchen table with some old farmers that went before him, Neil Twitchell and Red Garrison and Dick Reynolds. And they're all sitting around the table and they got a piece of pie. And they got a big glass of milk with thick cream on the top. And nobody's eating their pie or drinking their milk because they're laughing too hard at my dad as he tells the story of his own funeral.